The Boston Celtics get a big win, an easy win, a big response, a championship response to a third quarter lull. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beam down, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Jrue to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
There, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends, like this Friday when they play the Cavs right here in the TD Garden. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm in the back. I'm in one of the performer rooms here at the TD Garden, recording this post-game podcast for you. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. And get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about this Celtics win over the New York Knicks. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So the Celtics get this win over the New York Knicks. It's a 13-point win. It was not a 13-point game. They went up by 27. Now that 27-point lead got cut down to 24, and then it was back up to 21 pretty, I don't want to say quickly, but within relatively short order in the fourth quarter. And then the Celtics started taking like the 24-second violations, and the Knicks just kept shooting, kept trying to, I don't know, maybe somebody bet a spread that, and they needed to, I don't know what that was. The Knicks, I appreciate the Knicks, maybe a never say die attitude or whatever, but they need to have a better grasp on reality. The reality is that the Celtics are back, and the Knicks are nowhere near as good as Boston. They are just not as good, and they're just not as good as maybe the best teams in the East. Like the Knicks made a big splash with the Karl-Anthony Towns acquisition. Did that get them to, did I say top three? Top two teams in the East, top three teams in the NBA. They have not beaten the Celtics. They have not beaten the Cavs. They have not beaten the Oklahoma City Thunder. They looked bad in the first half against the Celtics here in this game. They had a run in the third quarter where the Celtics, they got up 27 and they let up, and they gave the Knicks an opportunity to kind of come back and take advantage of things, right? Like Karl-Anthony Towns started hitting a couple of shots, and I was joking around like Karl-Anthony Towns must lead the NBA in scoring after his team goes down by 20. He just started to finally be aggressive, finally get some shots. The Celtics, I think, let up a little bit. And this is where the Knicks are. Like, the Knicks are good enough to torch a bad defense. They're not good enough to beat a Celtics level defense, and they cannot stop a Celtics level offense. That's for sure. Like, they sacrifice their defense in a big way to get the offense. And their offense is still not good enough to make the Celtics sweat, and their defense, the Celtics picked it apart. So the Celtics, I think, like, whatever you want to say about that December, that early January, that little stretch where they struggled, they were, just above 500 or whatever, that is gone. I think the Celtics have a pretty solid answer to that. They've now won 5 straight games where each of their 5 straight wins has been by at least 13 points. They've won 9 of their last 12 of their last 15. They've beaten the Knicks twice. They've beaten the Cavs over the last 7 games. The Celtics are, I think you can say, back. All of the questions about the swoon, I think those have been answered. The Celtics I've talked about this a bunch. We've talked about it with Jrue Carter. We talked about it with Tom Westerholm. We've gotten into the Celtics. Had a lot of things happen at the same time. They got Kristaps Porzingis back, and that took a little bit of time to get used to. Just getting him back up to speed. Derrick White had a swoon there. He talked about, very openly, I lost my joy, he said, for the game for a little while. And now that's back, and he's his normal kind of freewheeling, fun-loving self. And all of these little things. Jrue Holiday is back. I think he needed to ease into the season. All of these things, like the Celtics are back. Porzingis is back. Derrick White is back. Holiday is back. Tatum's playing his best. Jaylen Brown, who wasn't feeling his best in this game, had a strong finish in the fourth quarter. The Celtics are back to their championship selves. And you saw that in them building the 27-point lead, where it was just attacking Karl Anthony Towns, attacking Jalen Brunson, getting whatever they want. The Knicks really spent a lot of time working very, very hard to get contested, tough shots that they couldn't really finish. The Celtics came down, and it was just a free-flowing offense, and they got basically whatever they wanted. They ran simple actions. They read the floor well, and, it's a Sam Hauser three? No problem. He's wide open. Whatever it was it a drive? Was it a kick? Was it a multiple pass? Whatever it was, the Celtics just came down and did what they had to do. Methodical. Just, we know where we're attacking. Everybody loves to talk about that killer whale offense. We know where we're attacking. We know who the SEALs are on that team. That's the Celtics at their absolute best. Even when Jalen wasn't shooting his best or playing his best, he was doing other things, defending, passing. Jayson Tatum, defending, passing, doing everything. 1 assist shy of a triple-double. This Celtics team against the Knicks, it's funny. I see the sentiment out there that, oh my God, the Knicks have to do everything they can to avoid the Celtics in the second round. Well, they're 3 games up in the loss column against Indiana, and I think 5.5 games up overall on Indy. They're going to have to really go into the tank to avoid the Celtics in the second round. If that's, assuming everything goes according to plan, the Celtics are very likely going to be in their path, right? They're not going to get to the conference finals without going through the Celtics. And they're not going to get past the Celtics. The Boston Celtics are just significantly better than the New York Knicks. And I think this game, the third quarter is the only thing Knicks fans can sit there and kind of hang their hats on and say, well, we at least had that. We had that stretch where, they outscored the Celtics by 20 points after, I forget, it was over the last 8 minutes of the quarter. And yeah, I guess you have that. I guess you do. But the Celtics also outscored the Knicks by 27 up to that point, and then outscored you by 17 after that, before meaningless late quarter buckets to get things close. So I think this is the championship level Boston Celtics back in complete effect. And you saw that, I think, in the response to the Knicks run, which I will talk about when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. Whenever a player scores 50 across the NBA, it doesn't have to be the Celtics. Whenever a player scores 50 for the rest of the regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So lunch until late night snack, you have $10, up to $10 off, 50% off an order when a player scores 50. So if you want to celebrate by ordering wings, pizza from your favorite spot, that gets delivered straight to your door. Late night cravings, if you want to use Dash Pass to grab something, late at night when maybe you wouldn't normally find anything, or if you're at lunch the next day and you want to grab something on the go, you can get your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus, now with this offer, you can save even more. So go check it out at DoorDash. Sign up for the Dash Pass and be ready to save. When a player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order the next day up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50. That's NBA50 from noon to midnight. After a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go subscribe to our newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo, enter your email. Then Monday through Friday, you're going to get an email from me with Celtics coverage plus NBA and fantasy coverage from across the Locked On network. So if you miss a podcast, it's a great way to keep up with things. And so it's very easy. It's free. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo. You get that email 5 days a week. Open it up, read it. Enjoy it, and I think it's it's a nice little addition to your Celtics coverage. So the Celtics did lose that lead, and like I said, I think it's inevitable that in a lot of these games that the Celtics or any team that's up, you're going to have your struggles. You're going to have your moments of like, we got it, up 27. Like, I get it. You're up 27. It's been easy. You kind of like pull back a little bit and you stop doing the little things that, hey, maybe the little things that cut off Karl Anthony Towns. Well, now he gets going a little bit. Maybe it's just some shots that fell, right? Jalen Brunson gets hot, and there's a lot of things that go into having a 27-point lead get cut down to 4. You got to go cold. They got to get hot. You got to kind of let the door open a little bit. Then they start hitting some tough shots, not getting back on defense. There was a lot of, I think, wanting to maybe hit the shot, like guys taking some shots. I think Tatum took a couple of shots that maybe those should have been passes, where I think otherwise in the game, Tatum and Brown and everybody had been making great plays. This was a stretch where it went away. Okay, it happens, right? You watch the NBA on any given night, if there's a 20-plus point lead, very often that lead ends up dwindling, right? You don't want it to. I get it. But how do you respond? That's always the answer. That's always the question. Like, how do you respond? The answer to that tells you what kind of team they are. And we've seen the Celtics get away from the things that have gotten them leads and never get it back this season. We've seen them struggle. And I think as we've progressed throughout this season, we've seen like, okay, they've blown leads and not gotten it back. And you're like, okay, that's not great. And then they've blown leads and struggled to get it back and just barely held on. You're like, okay, there's some progress there. And now they blew a lead and they got almost the entire lead back, which is the kind of response that you're looking for. I say it's a championship level response for a couple of reasons. Number one, they showed the poise, right? It's calm, it's patience, it's waiting for your moment. And I think this particular time, the moment, it started with Derrick White hitting some shots. So there's poise, number one. Number two, it's somebody other than Tatum and Brown doing it. And Derrick is almost always the guy, that other guy that's doing it. But it's often Peyton Pritchard. It's often, it can be Porzingis. It can be Al Horford. It can be Jrue Holiday. It can be any of those guys. The poise to wait and not wait, but be patient, right? Don't overreact. Just be patient. Jalen Brunson sits. Miraculously, Tom Thibodeau said, we need to sit this guy, and they did. And that took away kind of like the flamethrower, the guy who had gotten super hot. He scored 15 points in the third quarter. He scored 22, I think, in the whole game. And that third quarter he was hitting everything. So he sat, and the offense kind of struggled a little bit. A lineup that had made a little bit of noise for the Knicks in the second quarter didn't at all in the fourth quarter. A lineup for the Celtics that struggled a little bit in that second quarter extended the lead in the fourth quarter. The Celtics found they found the shot. They got somebody to hit a shot, Derrick White. They were patient. They saw their moment. They ramped up the defensive intensity. And by the time Brunson got back in the game, the lead, which had gone to 7 at that point, grew to 14 when Brunson was back. And there was no way the Knicks were cutting off that water from Boston at that point. The Celtics are just too good offensively for the Knicks. Like I've said, the Knicks don't have the defense to stop the Celtics when they get rolling like that. And when the energy picks back up, then it really is impossible to stop. I liked that Jaylen Brown was patient in that fourth quarter. Derrick had it going. Jalen didn't kind of get in the way. He drew 2. He accepted double teams. He moved the ball. He got off the ball. He wasn't trying to do too much. Then when Tatum checked back in and the attention kind of like went to Tatum, Jalen started to do a little bit more, and he had a strong finish. He was 5 of 9 in the fourth quarter after being 5 of 12 the first 3 quarters. He steps up and comes up big and attacks and just puts that pressure on a defense that is not good, not as good as it could be or should be or any of that. So I thought I call this a championship level response, because the Celtics moved the ball and just whoever got the open shot took it. No one tried to do it all on their own, even though Derrick White had a hot start to the fourth quarter. You had everybody contributing. Porzingis' signature moment in this run is Porzingis. Again, talk about the Knicks defense being terrible. The Celtics run a simple out of bounds play where Jrue Holiday sets a back pick for Kristaps Porzingis, and he ends up getting sprung for a wide open alley-oop. Out of bounds, baseline out of bounds, giving up a baseline out of bounds alley-oop from the guy to the guy who's starting at the top of the key is just one of the biggest basketball sins you could commit. To give up an alley-oop just for a simple back pick is garbage defense by the Knicks. Hot garbage defense. But Porzingis comes down, hits that, goes down the other way. I thought he got a finger on the dunk from Karl-Anthony Towns, but it didn't go down as a block. But he challenged it, made it difficult. I think Karl-Anthony Towns looked awful in this game. I don't even know. He's going to end up with more points than I realized. Let's see, 24 points. It's going to look like, oh my God, Karl-Anthony Towns had a 24-point, 18-rebound game. It wasn't his fault. Let me tell you something. Karl-Anthony Towns looked awful in this game until that third quarter. You could talk about rebounds and all that stuff. The 5 offensive rebounds, a lot of them were on his own misses. This is the biggest fake stat line I've ever seen. I don't look at this. I did not look at that game and think, wow, Karl-Anthony Towns is making a big impact. No way. This is horrible. I can't believe that that's his number. But I really feel like the Celtics were able to respond by doing it as a team. And it didn't matter who it was. It really didn't matter who it was. There was no, hey, this is my time. It's my turn. When the Celtics do it that way, when Joe Mazzulla talks about not being defined by your scoring, not being defined by any one thing, this is it. This is exactly what it is. So championship level response there. Let's talk about the individual players: Tatum, Brown, Derrick White, Jrue Holiday, although I've mentioned all of them already, but Let's talk about them when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers, you can get in on the action here at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Now that it's the NBA's world and we're all living in it, you can place live bets throughout the game, even if you miss the opening tip. If you want to bet on that third quarter comeback, that fourth quarter comeback, maybe when the Celtics when it got down to 4, you want to place a bet on the Celtics spread at that point. That's a great way to stay in the action if you're looking to do it. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can combine your live bets into the same game parlay. So the live betting feature keeps you invested in games that maybe it's a blowout like this one. And you say, oh, let's have some fun and see maybe there's something in that comeback or the response that maybe make a couple bucks off of that. New customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So go to FanDuel.com, join today, and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. Make sure you're using the tools that are available to set your limit, set your budget, make sure that you are gambling responsibly with what you can afford to play and lose. You have to just prepare for the worst, right? So go to FanDuel.com, place that first $5 bet, and maybe you get that $150 in bonus bets when your bet wins. FanDuel, it's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night and Locked On NBA, both on the same feed. I host Game Night on Wednesdays with Jake Madison. I'm sorry, on Fridays. I'm there on Fridays. Used to be Wednesdays. I'm still in the habit of saying Wednesdays. Fridays, covering every game in the league. So if you want to get caught up on the night after you're done with this podcast, go check that one out, and I'll get you caught up on the entire night in the NBA. So on your way to work, you listen to Locked On Celtics. On your way home, you can listen to Locked On NBA Game Night. However you want to do it, subscribe wherever you found this podcast. All right, let's get into some of these individual performances here. The Celtics, so Jayson Tatum, 1 assist shy of a triple-double. I've said this, that he's in a stretch now where his passing is so good. And as I phrase that, his passing is so good. Complete side note. I've had people when I talk about, wow, Jayson Tatum's passing, and people are like, oh my God, you freaked me out. You freaked me out by saying his passing. I thought he was dead. Like, at what point does the context of my voice relay that something bad happened to Jayson Tatum? I'm sitting here excitedly talking about Jayson Tatum's passing. We're talking about basketball on this podcast. What do you think I'm talking about? If I can't use the word passing on this podcast, it's so funny to me that I had like 3 people mention this to me. Like, am I missing something? Jayson Tatum's passing of the ball has been great. And I think he's in line. Like, triple doubles are gonna be part of the norm. We've been waiting for Jayson to become the triple double guy. He's always had that potential. Now he's in this stretch of potential triple doubles. I really think that he is in that stretch of his career now. Something has changed recently, and I think 9 assists. Like, he can easily average 7-8 assists a game from this point on. Like, February 2025 forward. So start in March of 2025 and just go forward. I bet you he's gonna average 7+ assists per game. Like, he's at that level. Jaylen Brown admitted that he was not feeling his best, but finishes with 24 points because of that big fourth quarter. I thought the defense was there especially as part of the comeback. So overall for him, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists is a nice night. Derrick White, when you talk about triple doubles, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Derrick White, he's back. So is Jrue Holiday, by the way. 14 points for him, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. I do like talking about those guys in combination with one another, because I think that's when you total up what the backcourt is doing, when you have Tatum and Brown and Porzingis, those 2 guys combining for that kind of backcourt production, think about you have Tatum and Brown. Tatum's almost at a triple double. Brown's at 24 and 8, and then you get a combined 23 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals, and a block from your starting backcourt. That's incredible. That is incredible. So those two guys, I just think that, first of all, D. White back being himself. He seems like more of himself. I've relayed this on the podcast so many times where I remember in December going into a practice and he didn't look like himself. He looked frustrated, and I could tell right away something was up with him. I've said it. You can go back to the December podcasts and probably find me saying like something's been off. And so it doesn't surprise me that he talks about losing his joy and all of that. He's back to being himself. Holiday, people talked about, something's wrong with him. Has age caught up with him? I get that question a lot. Does he look like a step slow because he's, older? And I never thought that age was catching up with him. He very clearly has been easing into this season. Just like Al Horford has a tendency to kind of ease into seasons. Like, he's not always going to be giving 100% out there. There are some games where he's like, yeah, I'm a bit player. I'm going to move the ball. I'm going to set some picks. I'll take a couple of shots here and there, but I don't need to be going all out because everyone else has got this. I think guys like him, guys like Holiday, easing into a season, super important. I think it's something that that allows them to be their best when they need to be their best. So I think Holiday's fine. I think Holiday is back. I think he's his normal self. But I've always thought he was his normal self. So I've never been worried. I'm glad I'm kind of like a little bit vindicated in this. Bench production in this game was not great on either side. The Celtics ended up with 21 bench points to 15 Knicks bench points, but Knicks bench points is impossible. They never play these guys. Most of these guys didn't get a ton of minutes, but the Celtics went a little heavy on their starters too. Horford was, I think, very effective, even though he didn't put up a bunch of numbers. Pritchard struggled shooting. Sam Hauser hit a couple of shots. Luke Cornett was, not his best game, but he did make a couple of plays. I think this was basically starters versus starters. And look, again, this is discouraging for the Knicks because they were mostly healthy and the Celtics are mostly healthy. And this is what you get from the Knicks. I'm going to end by saying, one more thing, that Tom Thibodeau is a complete maniac. I don't understand why. So Karl-Anthony Towns goes up for that dunk against Porzingis in the fourth quarter. They knock knees and he falls and he goes to the bench and he's agonizing in pain and he sits out. He checks back in with like 4 minutes to go and it's a 20-point game. Like, why did you check 4 minutes to go and 20 points? Like, sure, in the NBA, anything is possible. The Knicks don't have the shooting to close that gap against an engaged Boston defense. Like, okay, fine. Maybe you're going to let's get one last gasp. 2 minutes later, it was a 21-point lead and he still didn't pull him. And Karl-Anthony Towns is out there like dragging his leg and he looked slow. He looked like he couldn't move. He was limping. Like, I nothing personal against Tom Thibodeau, but his coaching style, playing all these guys, like, I don't understand how no one has intervened at this point. I'm just saying this from a player safety thing. Like, I don't understand how Karl-Anthony Towns was back out there. That was an absolute, like, of all the Tom Thibodeau crazy player decisions, that is up there. That is up there. So just to say, like, that again, from a player health perspective, I was shocked that it was going on. Celtics get this win. I'm going to put it down as an easy win. Even though they had to come back from that third quarter, run, they pushed it back up to 21. I don't care about the late Knicks buckets. This to me it's a 13-point win, but it was basically a 20-point win. It was 20 most of the way. The Knicks have nothing for Boston. The Celtics are back. Now, I am curious to see because they play Toronto and Detroit back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday. 3 games in 4 nights, the back-to-back. I wonder what the Detroit game is going to look like. I kind of wonder if there's going to be a letdown here against Toronto. I'm out here declaratively saying the Celtics are back. Are the Celtics going to make me look bad in declaring this? We'll see. I'll be here after both of those games. Obviously, I'm here all week long, Monday through Friday. There'll be a bonus podcast after Friday night's game. I will be here at the Garden. So Saturday, you'll wake up and you'll have a podcast for me. If you are subscribed, it'll show up right on your favorite podcasting app. It's also going to be on YouTube because everything's on YouTube. And you go there into the comment section, share your thoughts. Tell me what you think about all of this stuff that I said in this podcast. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast, spread the word for me. Tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.